Beitzah Perek Bet Bi'ur Mishnah Hey. Explanation for Mishnah Hey, second chapter. Mishnatenu dana be'avarat esh beyom tov. Our Mishnah comes and teaches us about making fire on Yom Tov. Not making fire, building the fire, adding to the fire on Yom Tov. When? Shelo letzorech chol nefesh. Now, if it's for food, we know you're allowed to. But what about if it's not for food? Are you allowed to make fire, to build fire, to add to the fire, not for eating? אלא לצורך הנאה אחרת של האדם, but just for enjoyment? So let's see. בית שמאי אומרים, the house of Shammai says, לא יחם אדם חמין לרגליו. In other words, they're saying, are you allowed to take a shower on Yom Tov? A hot shower on Yom Tov. You have a gas furnace.
Unless you're really there, if something happened to you.
A gas furnace.
Huh?
A gas furnace.
What's a gas furnace?
You not electric. You have a gas.
Oh, gas. No.
You know, it's the flame is already there. You're not making a new flame. You're just adding to the flame. So are you allowed to use today take a shower on Yom Tov? That's what he's asking. Or do you allowed to have your heat on Yom Tov? And you have a stove oven. You have a wood oven. Are you allowed to put more? Yeah. Are you allowed to add more wood to make the house warm on Yom Tov? Yeah. For cooking, for sure you're allowed. But no, you have the food already. It's not for cooking.
It's cold outside. It's minus 20.
Yeah. Are you allowed to put fire? Okay. Or in our case, לא יחם אדם חמין לרגליו. The house of Shammai says, if it's not for food, you shouldn't warm with water to bathe in, for example. לא יחמם אדם מים ביום טוב לרחיצת רגליו. It says you're not allowed to warm up on Yom Tov water to wash your feet. שלא התירה התורה מלאכה ביום טוב אלא לצורך אוכל נפש בלבד. When the Torah says you can play with fire, increase the fire, add wood to the fire, it was only talking about cooking. It wasn't talking about bathing. It wasn't talking about other things. והוא הדין, and this is also the rule, שאסור לדעת בית שמאי, that it is forbidden to the house of Shammai, לחמת מים לרחיצת פניו וידיו. It doesn't mean only for his leg, for anything. Yeah? אלא שנקטה המשנה לרגליו. So why did it say only for the feet? כדי להשמיענו כוח היתרם של בית הלל כדלהלן בספר. We're going to see in the end why did it say feet. Let me get to it. Okay. אלא, but even בית שמאי is going to say, maybe you are allowed to. Don't jump into conclusion. No. Simchat Chag is it's not part of Simchat Chag to bathe the legs.
If he's going to be very dirty and you need to wash himself.
Dirty,
he can't go with the people there.
Dirty, you're allowed to. You can wash your feet. Who says in warm water? You can put it in cold water. Why do you have to do it in warm water?
It's freezing.
So? What do you think? People are like today? They're all snowflakes today? In those times? What do you mean freezing? You go. What do you mean? You wash your feet. How do you think it was done until 150 years ago? You think people used to wash their it was cold. What do you think? Yeah. Ella, but he says, when can you? Ella im ken reuin leshtia. Only if this water is drinking water. Now, what does it mean drinking water? You have to remember, it's not like today. To drag the water from the well or from the river or from there was a long thing. So if you took water from the well and you brought it home, you're going to use it only for drinking. You're not going to use it to bathe. It's too much work. Nobody will do that. In other words, the dirty water you might use, right? Yeah. But it says, so if you warmed it up for food, for example, and you have leftover, maybe I'll let you use it. Then you can, because no one normal is going to use drinking water for bathing. Yeah, people don't do that. So at least I know if it's drinking water, I know you used it for, the intention was for food. אלא אם כן ראויים לשתייה. Only if they are befitting to be drank. שאם הוא חמול לשתייה, in other words, you warmed it up because you wanted some tea. מותר להשתמש בהם לרחיצת פניו, and there's something left, then you can use the what left over also to wash your face, ידיו ורגליו, his hand and his feet. יש מפרשים, there are those who explain, שאף אם המים ראויים לשתייה, אינו משתמש בהם לרחיצה, אלא אם כן שתה מהם תחילה. It says that's not enough. It says you need to show that it was for drinking. In other words, some say, just thinking about it, you warmed it for food and you didn't drink, you warmed it for tea and you didn't drink the tea, you won't be allowed to. It says drink the tea and then I'll allow you. Otherwise I'm not going to allow you.
Show that you did it for...
That's right. ובית הלל מתירים. בית הלל say, go ahead, no problem. Warm it for a bath, use it for a bath and do whatever. What's the logic of Beit Hillel? It looks like Beit Shammai is correct over here. Beit Hillel permitted lechamem mayim b'yom tov, to warm the water on Yom Tov, not for food. So it says, what do you mean not for food? We only allow you for food. How do you get not for food? Afilu lechitzat reglav, it says you can do it to wash your feet. Umichol sheken letzorech panav v'yadav, and how much more so for your face, for your hands. How? שסוברים בית הלל, because the house of Hillel hold, מתוך שהותרה הבערה לצורך אוכל נפש. It says, once God permitted adding wood for food, he permitted it for everything else. הותרה גם שלא לצורך אכילה. That's what it is. He permitted it for food, then he permitted it for everything else.
Food's a food, it's allowed.
Yeah, but it's allowed. Adding water. In other words, there's not a problem with the adding of the wood, right? Adding of the wood is not a problem. So once it's not a problem, don't tell me it's a problem. Once I permitted it to you for one thing, I'm going to permit it to you across the board for anything. In other words, once you permit something according to the... You don't like it?
No, it doesn't make sense.
Explain.
You can't say this.
No?
You can't say, Hashem permitted you to eat food, you can, okay, so I can do whatever I want now with the fire.
No, Hashem permitted you to...
For eating.
True, but Hashem permitted you to use fire.
Okay.
Once he permitted you to use power, he permitted you to use fire.
In the Yom.
Yeah?
Okay.
It's either use of fire is...
Hashem.
I'm asking you, is use of fire allowed?
For food.
Forget fretful. Is it allowed?
Allowed.
You saying it's only for food because you like Bet Shammai, you're used to the idea. Bet Hillel says once you permit it, you have to permit it across the board. Think about it. I'll give you an example. Think about it like a parent who permits something to the kids, right? You can't permit something. It says you're only allowed it, this. If it's allowed, then you'll have to allow it across the board. You cannot say, I'll give you an example, alcohol, right? You're only allowed to drink wine during Kiddush. Yeah? Does the statement make sense? And the kid's going to tell you, and what about the Bar Mitzvah? And then he's going to tell you, and what about the Chatuna? And then he's going to tell you, what about Sudat Simcha? And then he's going to tell you, what about the Farbrengen? And then he's going to tell you, what about two guys are sitting over there and they're having a conversation? So this is what Bet Hillel says. You can't start, once you give permission, you permitted it. That's what Bet Hillel says. Yeah, you understand what he's saying? Bet Shammai says no. Yeah, Bet Shammai is going to say no, like you. I didn't give you permission for all the other things. I gave you permission only for that. Specifically for that. Only for that. גם שלא לצורך, כשיש בצורך, איזו הנאה לאדם. In other words, Beit Shammai learns the food is eating, consuming. The permission for wood, to burn wood for Beit Shammai is for the purpose of eating. That's what Beit Shammai says. Beit Hillel comes to Beit Shammai and says, you misunderstood. God didn't say for the permission of eating, he said for the permission of enjoyment. All types of enjoyment. For all types of enjoyment. They both say it's for enjoyment. But Beit Shammai says enjoyment only of food. Beit Hillel says no, it's for enjoyment, any enjoyment. That's the thing. יש מפרשים, maybe going to be more careful. Let's see exactly what did they agreed. יש מפרשים, there are those who explain, שלא התירו בית הלל אלא רחיצת פניו, ידיו ורגליו. The house of Hillel only permitted washing the face, the hands and the legs. Why? לפי שהוא צורך השווה לכל נפש. Because it says every person used to wash his feet, his legs and his face, but not his entire body. Yeah? In other words, even Beit Hillel says we're not going to permit you to go take a bath. No. To take a shower, you're not allowed to. We're not allowed to. But whatever you do every day, that thing, that will we permit you. אבל רחיצת כל גופו אסורה. But washing the entire body is forbidden. Why? שאינה צורך השווה לכל נפש. Because not everybody does bathe every day. כלל הדברים. So let's summarize. כותב הרמב"ם בפירושו למשנתנו, the Rambam writes, כי חמין שהוחמו ביום טוב, that if you warmed up hot water on יום טוב, רוחץ בהם פניו, ידיו ורגליו. He's allowed to wash with them his hands, his feet and his face. ואינו רוחץ כל גופו, and he doesn't bathe his entire body. אלא אם כן הוחמו מערב יום טוב. As if you warmed it before יום טוב, then you're allowed to. But,
take a bath.
Yeah, but you have to warm the water before יום טוב. Yeah? וחמים שהוחמו מערב שבת, רוחץ בהם בשבת, פניו, ידיו ורגליו. And also, before Shabbat, you were allowed to wash on Shabbat, as long as it was warmed before Shabbat. אבל לא כל גופו, but not the entire body. And by the way, on Yom Tov the halacha is, a lot people take showers, you're allowed to. Some people, it's a question if you can look at halacha. Yeah, you can look at halacha, but it says if you do take a bath, you have to take it part by part. A shower, you have to take it shower part by part. In other words, put your hand in the, you're not allowed to stand under the whole thing. Stand part by part, if you do want to. עושה אדם מדורה ביום טוב, and a person is allowed to make fire on יום טוב, not make fire, increase to the fire, הוא מתחמם כנגדה. In other words, you're allowed...
לא יכול לעשות אש מאש?
Yeah. He's increasing the fire in the house. He's allowed
to be an existing fire that was there and just to add. Or let's say that the warm Yom Tov and it become to be cold and I want to light up fire. I go.
You can't light. Esh me'esh is not lighting up fire. Okay. Lighting up means there's no fire and you make fire.
Oh.
You have to take it from some. You can. Yeah. אדם עושה מדורה ביום טוב, הוא מתחמם כנגדה, and warms against it. בגמרא מבואר, לפי הברייתא, the Gemara explains according to the ברייתא, שזו דעת בית הלל. בית שמאי says you're not allowed to, only for food. בית הלל says you're allowed to. Once we permitted it for food, we permitted it for enjoyment. All kinds of enjoyments. הסוברים שהצורך להתחמם צורך כל נפש הוא. In other words, this is not for only snowflakes. Not only the מפונקים do fire. Or not only the מפונקים wash their hands. Everybody wash their hands. So once God permitted to use fire, He permitted for all the regular people. If you're מפונק, something else. But it's not פינוק to warm up the house. ומתוך שהותרה הבערה לצורך אכילה. And Beit Hillel says, once we allowed you to burn fire, burn wood for eating, הותרה גם שלא לצורך אכילה. It was permitted for all other uses, as long as the normal uses that most people do. We're not talking about snowflakes, those עדינים. כמו שביארנו לעיל. אבל בית שמאי אוסרים לעשות מדורה בשטחי כנגדה. בית שמאי says, no, you should put enough wood in the oven before Shabbos or before Yom Tov. It will keep warm. Maybe it's not going to be 100 degrees in the house, but it's going to be warm enough. You're not going to die. אף על פי שיש במזום של הנעת כל הגוף. Even though it's enjoyment, it says God did not permit any kind of enjoyment. He only permitted eating enjoyment. But even according to Beit Shammai, you can cheat. You can cook food throughout the day. Yeah. You can have a big fire for food. It doesn't say you have to have a small fire for the food. Yeah?
You can